Okay, we are on page 41, Workplace as Holy Ground. God desires to be deeply involved in the work you are doing, whether technical or creative, with numbers or paint, with people or chemicals, with nature or law enforcement, with selling something or creating something. God is in your ordinary work and workplace, whatever that space is for you. You may not work in an office. Your workplace may be a home where you care for young children or an elderly person or someone sick. Your workplace may be your vehicle as you travel for work or transport goods. Your workspace or workplace may be in a kitchen where you cook or bake, the hallways of a school where you teach or clean, a playing field where you coach, or a barn where you take care of animals. Workplace is not limited to the good news. Let me start that again. Workplace is not limited, and the good news is that neither is God. Wherever you work, whatever that space is, it can be a place of connection and communion in your relationship with Christ. If your workplace can be a sanctuary of worship, as we saw in the story of Moses, then the place where you go about your work is holy ground. Think about your workplace for a minute. Is it a cubicle or a medical office? Is it a dentist chair or a classroom? Is it outside or is it in a factory? Is it a corner office behind a register or in a large shared room? Whatever that physical space is for you, it is a place that can be seen as holy ground because God has already set it apart, just as he set apart the ground where Moses had worked. It is a place where God can speak to you and be with you, and where you can respond in worship to God through your work. Now, on page 42, moving to the stories of holy ground. These are going to be individual personal stories from people, their testimonies, and an example of how they practice this in their own individual lives. Starting with Christy's story. When we orient to our workplaces as holy ground, we begin to see our work differently. Christy is someone who gets this deeply. Christy is a performing artist and a mathematician, an unusual but wonderful combination. For several years, Christy was a high school drama and math teacher, but through a series of circumstances, she went to work in an accounts payable for a technology firm. Christy's job was to send invoices out to companies' clients and pay companies' bills all day long. It was an ordinary job. Still, it was an ordinary job that was also deeply important, not only to the company, but also, as Christy came to see, to God as well. She didn't work in a plush office space. She worked in a small cubicle, but as she began to learn and think about worshiping God through her work, something began to change in her. If work could be worship, then her cubicle was a temple where she offered her worship to the Lord. Doing her best work would be a way in which she would honor God at work. After having thought through this idea, she came to her church's work discipleship group very excited. She began to talk about her cubicle as holy ground and how this perspective had changed everything for her. As a result, her work was invigorating in a new way. As she was paying bills and sending out invoices, she became aware of how this work was contributing both to her own organization and to those in other companies. She recognized that working diligently was an important way to commune with God and to hear from him. The ordinariness of it all wasn't lost on Christy because she had come to know God as Moses did, as the God who enters the ordinary to speak, to be with his people. Then Christy took it one step further. She began to think about the others who stepped into that sacred space. If her cubicle was holy ground, then it wasn't holy ground just for her. It was holy ground for anyone who stepped into that space, whether they knew it or not. This will change how I respond to interruptions from coworkers or from my boss when I'm already very busy, she said. Rather than being frustrated with the interruptions, Christy began to view them as opportunities God was bringing to her, which enabled her to give her whole attention to the person who had entered into the holy ground of her cubicle. Seeing her literal office space as holy ground changed Christy. It changed how she thought about her work and how she engaged in it. It changed the way she experienced God at work, and it changed how she thought about and interacted with others in her little corner of the company where she worked. I love that. Okay, we're moving on to Matt's story. That's on page 43, midway through. Matt is another Christian who has seen God consecrate the space in which he works. Matt is a visual artist. He combines the regular practice of walking around Seattle with his artistic talent to create beautifully complex drawings and paintings of his roots. As he walks, he prays for the place and the space he passes through, contemplating his relationship to the earth and to the urban jungle in which he lives. Through these walks, Matt has developed a deep theology of place that he has taken to the educational institutions where he is on faculty. One particular setting in which he has experienced God deeply is a dingy stairway at the technical college where he teaches computer classes. Every morning, Matt ascends the stairs to the computer lab where he meets his students. And in this stairway, he prays. As a result, this stairway has become a profound place of holy ground for him. He shared the following, along with a picture of the stairway in the social media post he posted. Looking out the window from the stairway of my college, where in the mornings I teach computer tech classes, I pray in this stairwell every morning. It is my chapel. I pray for my students who come from all walks of life, mostly marginalized immigrants, African Americans, Latinos, some who struggle with learning disabilities. I pray that I would serve them well, equip them with good knowledge, love them, and love them. Though in the distance things are dim, unclear. This morning I again stand in the stairway. This morning I have to work to do the same work I've been doing, trying to be of service, create opportunities for all, loving others. This school is small, underfunded, unglamorous, and sometimes heartbreaking. But this morning, I am here. I recommit to this work, and the enemies of our work will have to shut us down or throw me out to stop me. And even then, I will find another way to keep going and doing the work of today. Amen. I love that. That's really cool. Okay, so we're going to move on to Jeff's story next. And that's the midway through page 44 in the next video.